I still remember the night I met Ryan. It was one of those warm evenings where everything feels softer. The lights, the air, even the laughter floating from nearby cafes. I was sitting alone at the corner table of a quiet restaurant, pretending to read the menu when he walked in, confident, charming, and effortlessly magnetic. Ryan had that kind of presence that makes the world slow down. His eyes met mine for just a second, but in that instant, it felt like he saw everything. My loneliness, my hope, my guarded heart. He smiled, and I knew I was in trouble. We talked that night for hours. About art, music, life, and dreams. He told me he'd just moved to the city, chasing a new job and a new beginning. I told him I'd stopped believing in beginnings. He laughed and said, "Then maybe I'll change that." And he did. The next few months were a blur of happiness. Morning coffee runs turned into late-night calls, and soon I couldn't imagine a day without him. He wasn't perfect, but he made me feel seen, loved, safe. Until one evening, the night everything changed. Ryan invited me to a small gathering at his apartment. "Just a few friends," he said. I wore my favorite dress, the one he once said made me look like the kind of girl who could ruin someone's plans. When I arrived, I noticed someone new, someone who made my heart skip in a way I didn't expect. His name was Ethan. He was Ryan's best friend, and from the moment our eyes met, something unspoken passed between us. Something forbidden, electric, and dangerous. Ethan wasn't supposed to stand out. He wasn't even supposed to be there, really. Ryan had invited him last minute. But somehow the moment I saw him, the world felt slightly rearranged. He stood by the kitchen counter, casually laughing with someone, his sleeves rolled up, a half-finished glass of wine in his hand. His presence was quieter than Ryan's, less bold, more thoughtful. But there was a calm in him that drew me in, a kind of quiet confidence that felt magnetic in its own way. When Ryan saw me looking, he smiled proudly, his arm wrapping around my waist. "Babe," he said, "this is Ethan, my best friend since college. The guy who somehow knows all my secrets." Ethan smiled, extending his hand. "All of them," he said softly, his voice lower, smoother than I expected. Our fingers touched, just a second longer than politeness allowed, but it was enough. Enough to feel that small spark, the one you can't ignore even when you know you should. The night went on. Laughter, music, stories of Ryan's wild college days. Ethan spoke rarely, but when he did, everyone listened. His words carried weight. He noticed things, the smallest details others missed. At one point, he complimented the painting hanging in Ryan's living room. "It's beautiful," he said, "but it's hung too low. It's almost like it's afraid to be seen." Ryan laughed, but I felt something twist in me. That was exactly how I felt, afraid to be seen. And somehow, Ethan had said it without even looking at me. Later that night, after everyone had left, I stayed to help Ryan clean up. Ethan lingered too, insisting he'd help before heading home. Ryan went to grab something from the bedroom, leaving the two of us alone in the living room. For a few seconds, there was only silence, the faint hum of music still playing on the speakers, the sound of distant traffic outside. Then Ethan spoke. "You make him happy," he said quietly. "I've never seen Ryan this way before." I smiled awkwardly, unsure what to say. "He makes me happy too." Ethan nodded, his eyes holding mine for a moment longer than they should have. "Good," he said, "just don't let him lose that." There was something strange in his tone. Not jealousy, not warning, but something deeper. A quiet ache. Ryan returned then, throwing his arm around my shoulder and pulling me close. "You two getting along?" he asked, smiling. "Yeah," Ethan said, smiling too. But there was something in his eyes that made my heart tighten. "We're getting along just fine." That night when I got home, I couldn't sleep. I replayed every look, every word, every silence. Ethan's face kept appearing in my mind, the way he watched me when I wasn't looking, the way his voice softened when he said my name. And I hated myself for it. I loved Ryan. I did. But the human heart doesn't always play by the rules. Over the next few weeks, Ethan became part of our lives more often. Movie nights, dinners, weekend get-togethers. I tried to avoid eye contact, tried to keep things friendly. But sometimes when Ryan wasn't looking, Ethan's gaze found mine across the room. Just for a moment, just long enough to remind me of what I shouldn't feel. It was torture. The beautiful, unbearable kind. Then came the night of the storm. Ryan had gone on a short business trip, leaving me with the apartment for a few days. The rain outside was relentless, wind shaking the windows, thunder growling in the distance. I made tea, wrapped myself in a blanket, and tried to watch something mindless to distract myself. Then my phone buzzed. Ethan. Hey, Ryan asked me to check on you. The storm's pretty bad. I typed back. I'm fine, just cozying up with tea. But 10 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. It was him. His hair was wet, his jacket dripping from the rain. You didn't answer your phone after that, he said. I got worried. I wanted to be angry, to tell him he didn't need to come. But I couldn't. His presence, even soaked and unexpected, made the lonely apartment feel alive again. I handed him a towel, and he smiled gratefully. You shouldn't have come out in this weather, I said softly. He shrugged. I couldn't stay still knowing you were here alone. The power flickered. Then suddenly everything went dark. We both froze, laughing nervously in the dark. I lit a candle, and in that warm, flickering light I saw him watching me. The air between us thickened, too heavy, too charged. Ethan, I whispered, not sure what I was about to say. He took a step closer, his voice barely a whisper. I know I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't feel this way. Then don't, I said, though my voice shook. I've tried, he said, pain in his tone. But it's not something you can just turn off. The silence that followed was unbearable. I could feel his heartbeat in the air. The rain outside roared louder, like the world itself was warning us. And then, he stepped back. I should go, he said softly. I nodded, though every part of me wanted to stop him. When he left, I sank to the floor, tears streaming down my face, because for the first time since I met Ryan, I felt something I wasn't supposed to. Something deeper, something forbidden, and I didn't know how to stop it. The morning after the storm, everything felt heavier. The air, the silence, even the sunlight that filtered weakly through the curtains carried a strange weight, as if it knew something I didn't want to admit. Ryan called from the airport. His voice was bright, casual, full of the same effortless warmth that had drawn me to him in the first place. Hey, baby, he said. How's home? You okay after the storm? I swallowed hard. Yeah, power went out for a while. But I'm fine, he laughed softly. That apartment could survive the apocalypse. Anyway, I'll be home tonight. Miss me? I forced a smile he couldn't see. Always. But when I hung up, my chest ached with a guilt that wouldn't leave. Because what I missed wasn't Ryan. It was the way Ethan looked at me when the candlelight flickered. Days passed, but the storm inside me didn't. Every little thing reminded me of Ethan, his laugh echoing in my memory, the warmth in his voice, the way he saw straight through me when no one else did. I tried to push it away. I cooked Ryan's favorite meals. I smiled, I worked, I went through the motions. But in the quiet moments, the in-betweens, my thoughts betrayed me. It wasn't just attraction. It was connection, the kind that feels like a truth you wish you never learned. Then, one Friday night, Ryan invited Ethan over again. I froze when I heard his name. Come on, you haven't seen him in days, Ryan said cheerfully. We'll have dinner, a few drinks, maybe a movie. I nodded, pretending not to care, pretending my heart wasn't already racing. When Ethan arrived, it felt like no time had passed at all. And yet, everything had changed. He looked the same. Calm, steady, unreadable. But when our eyes met, just for a second I saw it. The same storm I carried. The same unspoken ache. Dinner was torture wrapped in small talk. Ryan kept the conversation flowing, laughing, telling stories about work. Ethan and I nodded, smiled, acted like everything was fine. But every time our hands brushed, passing a dish, refilling a glass, my breath caught. It was unbearable, the tension that hid behind every polite gesture. After dinner, Ryan opened a bottle of wine and turned on some music. "You two talk," he said, grinning. "I'll be back. Just need to call my boss real quick." The door closed behind him, and suddenly, the air shifted again. The music was soft, something slow and distant. We stood there, alone, the weight of everything unspoken pressing against the silence. Ethan looked at me. Really looked. And I felt naked. Not in body, but in truth. "How are you?" he asked, his voice quiet, careful. "I'm trying not to think," I said, almost laughing at the irony. He smiled sadly. "Yeah, me too." For a moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of music and the clink of glasses. Then I whispered, "That night, did it mean anything to you?" He looked down. His jaw tensed. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. "It meant everything. And that's the problem." My breath trembled. "Then why didn't you—" "Because he's my friend," Ethan interrupted softly. "Because I saw the way he looks at you. Because I can't be the reason he breaks." Tears welled in my eyes. "And what about me?" He hesitated. "You'll hate me if I answer that honestly." "Say it." He stepped closer, his voice barely more than a whisper. "I think about you. Every day, every time I see him hold your hand. And I hate myself for it." The world around us blurred. The lights, the music, everything fading into the background. It was just us now. Two people caught between what's right and what feels real. I felt his breath on my skin. My heart hammered so loudly it drowned out reason. "Ethan," I whispered. But before I could say anything else, Ryan's voice echoed from down the hall. "You guys okay in there?" We jumped apart, guilt flashing like lightning. Ethan turned away, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, man, all good," he called out, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. When Ryan walked in, he had no idea that the air in that room had already changed, that something invisible but irreversible had happened between his best friend and the woman he loved. That night, after Ethan left, Ryan lay beside me in bed, his arm around me, his breathing soft and steady. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake, my heart somewhere else entirely. Guilt gnawed at me, but beneath it was something even worse. Longing. I didn't know what to do with it. Love isn't supposed to split you in two. It's supposed to make you whole. But somehow, in the middle of all this, I felt more broken than ever, and deep down, I knew things could never go back to how they were. The days that followed were unbearable. Ryan noticed it first. The slight hesitation in my laugh, the moment my eyes lingered on something that reminded me of Ethan, the way I sometimes seemed distracted. He didn't say anything at first. He never jumps to conclusions. But the careful way he observed me made my stomach knot with guilt. It was a Saturday evening when he finally spoke. We were curled up on the couch, the city lights glowing faintly through the apartment windows. He was scrolling on his phone, thumbs moving absent-mindedly, before he put it down and turned toward me. "You've been different," he said carefully. His voice was soft, but there was an edge beneath it, the first tremor of suspicion. I froze. My heart beat faster than it had in weeks. "Different how?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light, casual, distracted. "Not fully here," he said. "I feel it. I don't know why, but I do." I swallowed, guilt tightening its grip on my chest. "Ryan, I'm just tired. Work has been a lot." He studied me for a moment. The corner of his mouth twitched in that way he does when he knows I'm not telling the whole truth. "Is there someone else?" The words fell between us like shards of glass. Sharp, cutting, final. I shook my head, but I didn't speak. Because if I said no, I'd be lying. And if I said yes, I'd be shattering everything. Ryan sighed, running his fingers through his hair. "I trust you," he said softly, "but I can't ignore what I feel. Something's changing, and I want to understand it before it becomes too late." I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Ryan, it's complicated. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling, as if searching for the right words. I know you're scared, he said quietly. I know relationships aren't easy, but I need honesty. I need you. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't sure I could give him that honesty. Later that night, after Ryan had fallen asleep, I sat on the balcony staring at the city lights. My mind drifted to Ethan. I couldn't forget him. His voice, his eyes, the way he had made me feel alive in ways I didn't even realize I'd been missing. I typed his name into my phone. I stared at the blank message screen, and then with trembling fingers I typed, I need to see you. The reply came almost instantly. Tonight? Yes. I met him at the small park near our apartments. Rain had returned, a soft drizzle that made the city smell like asphalt and promises. He was there already, standing under the flickering light of a lamppost, hands shoved into his coat pockets. When he saw me, his lips curved slightly, a faint, sad smile. You shouldn't have come, he said softly. Neither should you, I replied. We stood in silence for a moment, rain falling around us, the world muted, like it had paused to watch us unravel. I can't stop thinking about you, he said finally, his voice low, and I hate it. I hate myself for it, but I can't help it. I swallowed hard. I feel the same, and it terrifies me. He stepped closer. Terrifies me too. Every time I see you with him, I feel like I'm losing something I shouldn't even have. We were inches apart, our breaths mingling in the cold night air. I don't know what to do, I whispered. Neither do I, he admitted. But I can't pretend anymore. Not to myself. Not to you. The rain soaked through our coats, but I didn't care. Every fiber of my being was pulled toward him, toward this forbidden, impossible connection. And then, the sharp sound of footsteps on wet pavement, Ryan. He was walking toward us, his umbrella barely keeping him dry, eyes narrowing as they fell on us standing together. My chest froze. Ethan and I separated immediately, as if the rain itself had pushed us apart. Everything okay? Ryan asked, his voice neutral, but the tension in his posture betrayed him. Yeah, I stammered. Just talking. Ryan's gaze flickered between me and Ethan. The air was thick with unspoken words, accusations hovering like storm clouds. He said nothing more, but I knew he felt it. I knew he sensed the invisible line we'd crossed, even without words. We parted that night with heavy hearts. Ethan walked away, disappearing into the rainy streets, leaving me with Ryan's watchful eyes and the weight of my own betrayal. Back in the apartment, Ryan didn't speak. He just sat on the couch staring at the floor. I sat beside him, unsure whether to apologize, explain, or stay silent. Finally, he looked at me, eyes shadowed with hurt. We need to talk, he said softly. I nodded. I know. And in that quiet moment, I realized that everything had changed. Nothing could go back to the way it was. I was caught between two people, the one I loved, and the one who made me feel alive in ways I didn't know I'd lost. And the choice was terrifying. The following morning, I woke to the muted hum of the city outside, but the apartment felt unusually silent. Ryan was already gone. I knew where he'd gone, even before checking the clock. A morning meeting he hadn't told me about. Yet the absence pressed down on me, heavier than ever. I wrapped myself in a shawl and moved to the balcony, trying to breathe, trying to pretend I wasn't collapsing inwardly. The truth was I hadn't slept properly. My dreams were haunted with shadows of Ethan's smile, his voice whispering through corridors of memory, blending seamlessly with Ryan's warmth and laughter. The phone vibrated, a soft buzz against the wooden table. I glanced down. A text from Ethan. We need to talk. Can you meet? My fingers trembled as I typed back. I can't. Not today. It's complicated. I know. That's why we need to. I stared at the screen, heart hammering. He was right. Every day I ignored this. Every time I pretended everything was normal with Ryan, I was lying. To him, to Ryan, to myself. Ryan returned later that afternoon. The air was tense, almost electric, as he stepped through the door. He didn't smile. He didn't hug me. He simply removed his coat, eyes locked on mine, and sat down in the same spot on the couch where he had sat that rainy night, when everything had begun to fracture. "I can feel it," he said quietly, voice calm but firm. "I know something is happening, and I need to know the truth. No excuses, no lies." My throat tightened. I wanted to tell him everything, to lay it bare, but how could I explain the storm inside me? How could I tell him that every time I see Ethan, something unexplainable pulls at my chest, at my mind, at my soul? I don't know what to say," I whispered. Ryan leaned forward, fingers interlaced. "Say it anyway. Don't hide behind hesitation. Not with me. Not now." I closed my eyes, the weight of my heart pressing on my lungs. I wanted to be honest. I wanted to confess the part of me that had shifted without warning, the part of me that had been awakened by Ethan in ways Ryan never could, but also never intended. I'm confused," I said finally, "and I hate it. I hate feeling like this. I love you, Ryan, I really do. But there's something with Ethan. Something I can't explain. I never wanted it. I never sought it. But it exists, and it's tearing me apart." The silence that followed was deafening. Ryan's jaw clenched. His eyes, usually soft and understanding, held a storm I had never seen. "You mean to tell me," he said slowly, voice low, "that you've been thinking about him?" "Yes," I admitted, tears welling. "I have. I can't control it." He ran a hand over his face, a gesture I had never associated with him. Frustration, pain, disbelief. "Do you want to be with him?" "No," I said instantly, but the word rang hollow, because in my heart, there was a part of me that didn't know the answer. Ryan leaned back, the air heavy between us. "Do you even love me?" "Yes," I said, choking on my own words. "I do, but I don't know." That evening, Ryan left for a run. The apartment was quiet, shadows stretching long across the walls, and I sank onto the sofa, exhausted. My phone buzzed again. "Ethan, meet me. One last time. Before it all collapses," I hesitated. The words rang in my mind. Before it all collapses. Everything I had built, everything I thought was stable, was teetering on the edge. I put on my coat and walked through the city streets, heart racing. Rain had started again, soft at first, then heavier, like the sky itself was warning me of the storm to come. Ethan was waiting at the park, under the same flickering lamppost. When he saw me, relief softened his features, but tension lingered in his eyes. "You came," he said softly. "I had to," I replied. He took a step closer, voice trembling. "Do you understand what this is doing to both of us? To him? To you?" "I do," I said, voice breaking. "And it terrifies me." Ethan's hand brushed mine and I flinched, knowing this was the line I shouldn't cross. "I can't stop thinking about you," he admitted. "I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't, but I do. And every time I see you with him, I feel like I'm losing a piece of myself." The rain soaked through my coat, my hair plastering my forehead, but I didn't move away. My chest ached with every heartbeat. "I can't hurt him," I whispered. "I can't." "I know," he said, voice low, desperate. "And I can't keep pretending either. I can't keep lying to myself." We stood there, rain falling around us, hands almost touching, hearts shattering in silence. Then a voice called out from behind the trees. "Your name?" We froze. Ryan. His figure emerged from the misty rain, drenched but unwavering. His eyes scanned us, taking in the proximity, the tension, the undeniable truth in our stance. The world tilted. Every step he took toward us made my chest feel like it was being squeezed. Ethan took a step back, guilt and regret written across his face. Ryan stopped a few feet away, breathing hard from the run. Is this what I think it is?" His voice cracked, just barely, but the hurt behind it was clear. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Words failed me. I had no excuse, no explanation, no way to undo what had been simmering between Ethan and me. Ethan finally spoke. "Ryan, I don't want excuses," Ryan said, voice rising slightly. I just want honesty. Now. I swallowed hard, rain dripping down my cheeks. I've been struggling with my feelings, I admitted, tears streaming. I didn't mean for this to happen. I love you, Ryan, but I can't lie about what I feel. And I feel something with him. I never wanted it, but it's there. Ryan's face fell. Pain, disbelief, betrayal, all in one fleeting expression. He looked at Ethan, then back at me. So this is real? Yes, I whispered. Silence fell over the park. The rain pounded around us, masking our sobs and shaking breaths. 3 hearts caught in a storm of emotion, love, betrayal, longing, and regret. Ethan finally stepped back. I shouldn't have come, he said quietly. I should have walked away. I tried. I really did. Ryan's hands shook slightly. I need time, he said. I can't just pretend this didn't happen. I nodded, knowing he was right, but deep down, a part of me, the part that had awakened with Ethan, was aching, raw and desperate, like it had finally been seen. The night stretched long and heavy. Rain continued to fall, drenching everything in a silver haze. We stood apart, 3 souls caught in a triangle of love, betrayal, and longing. And I knew, as the cold soaked through me, that nothing would ever be the same again. The night didn't let up. Rain-slicked streets reflected the city lights in fractured patterns, almost like the state of my heart, broken, scattered, yet somehow still beating. I walked behind Ryan silently, his pace quick, shoulders rigid, hands clenching and unclenching as though gripping at invisible chains. Ethan kept his distance, letting us move without interference, his eyes darting between Ryan and me like he was witnessing the collapse of a delicate structure he had no right to touch. We stopped outside Ryan's apartment. He unlocked the door with hands that trembled slightly, either from rage, hurt, or a mix of both, I couldn't tell. The elevator ride was silent, except for the low hum and the occasional thud of our footsteps against the metal floor. Every second stretched like a taut wire, ready to snap. Once inside, Ryan closed the door behind us and leaned against it, letting out a breath I could almost feel in my chest. Sit, he said finally, voice low, controlled, though I could hear the edges of pain cutting through. I sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded tightly in my lap. My legs were tense, like I might bolt or collapse at any moment. Ryan paced the living room, the shadows of the overhead lights stretching across the walls like silent witnesses to what was about to unfold. I need to know everything, he said. I need honesty, no half-truths, no excuses, no minimizing what happened between you and him. I'll tell you, I whispered. My voice was barely audible, fragile, like a bird trapped in a storm. It wasn't intentional. It just happened. I never wanted this, Ryan. I didn't plan to feel anything for him. But I did, and I hated myself for it every second. Ryan stopped pacing and looked at me, jaw tight, eyes flickering with a storm I could no longer ignore. You hated yourself? And yet you didn't tell me. You let this grow? It wasn't like that, I said, my voice breaking. I tried to push it away. I tried to forget. I tried to focus on us, on you. I love you, Ryan, I do. I never wanted to hurt you. He sat down across from me, hands clasped together as he stared at the floor. Do you even know what love is anymore? He asked, voice trembling. Do you even know who you are? Because I'm losing the person I thought I knew. Tears welled in my eyes. I'm still me. I swear I am. But this is a part of me I didn't know existed until he showed up. I can't explain it, and I hate that I can't. I hate that you have to feel this. He was silent for a long moment. The air between us was thick, heavy, saturated with everything we hadn't said for days, weeks, maybe months. Finally, he looked up, and the look in his eyes made my chest ache. And him? What does he mean to you? Tell me the truth, please. I swallowed hard, voice trembling as I spoke. Ethan. He's a reminder of something I lost long ago, of a part of myself I stopped acknowledging. He makes me feel alive in ways I can't with anyone else. But that doesn't mean I want to leave you. Not yet. Not like this. Ryan's eyes narrowed slightly, the hurt and frustration blending with a hint of understanding. You're saying, you want both of us? No, I whispered. I don't know. I just know that something has awakened inside me, something I can't ignore, and I feel like I'm suffocating, trapped between what I love and what I feel. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. Do you know what this does to me? He asked, voice breaking. Do you know how it feels to see someone you trust? Someone you thought you were building a life with, looking at someone else with desire? I'm sorry, I said, my heart breaking. I didn't want this. I never wanted this, and I can't make it stop. I can't control it. But I don't want to lose you either. Ryan stood abruptly, pacing again. You're telling me all of this and expecting me to just accept it? Pretend it doesn't exist? No, I said, standing to follow him. I'm not expecting anything. I'm asking you to listen, to understand, to see that I'm torn too. I'm not perfect. I'm not a hero. I'm just human. He turned to me, face flushed, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Human doesn't mean hurting the ones you love. I know, I said. I know. Outside, the city continued its restless hum. I could feel Ethan's absence like a phantom limb, tugging at my chest, reminding me of everything I had suppressed. And yet Ryan was here, standing in front of me, bleeding vulnerability and love. Love that was patient, fierce, and unyielding. I don't know what to do, I admitted, my voice a whisper. I want to be with you, but I can't ignore him. I can't ignore what I feel. Ryan's shoulders sagged slightly, the fight draining out of him. Then you need to decide, he said quietly, because I can't live in the shadow of him. I can't watch you ache for someone else while pretending it's okay. Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw myself into his arms, to tell him everything would be fine. But it wouldn't. Not yet. Not until I sorted out the storm inside me. I need time, I whispered. I can't decide right now. Please don't leave. Don't give up on me. Ryan's gaze softened slightly, though the pain never left his eyes. I'll wait, he said quietly. But know this, I'm not blind. I see everything, and I'll give you time, but don't make me wait forever. I nodded, feeling the weight of his words settle in my chest like stones. He left the apartment quietly, letting me sit in the silence, surrounded by shadows and memories. Alone, I sank onto the couch, clutching a pillow to my chest. My mind raced with images of both men, Ryan's steady warmth, Ethan's dangerous pull. I felt fractured, torn in two, like a single piece of glass split into jagged fragments. The phone buzzed again. Ethan. Did he find out? I didn't respond immediately. My fingers hovered over the screen, trembling. I knew whatever I sent next would either ignite the fire or burn it to ashes. Finally, I typed. He knows. And I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing both of you, even though I love you both in different ways. The reply came almost instantly. Then maybe it's time to stop running. Face it. Whatever you feel, we face it together, or not at all. I stared at the screen, rain tapping against the window, heart pounding. And in that moment, I realized the storm wasn't over. Not yet. It had only just begun. The love triangle was no longer a secret. It was reality. And reality demanded choices, confrontation, and the courage to face the consequences of desire. The morning air was cold, biting, yet strangely alive with anticipation. I had barely slept. My thoughts spun endlessly, tangled between Ryan's wounded eyes and Ethan's insistent messages. I felt like a puppet caught in the middle of two worlds, neither of which I could abandon without tearing a piece of myself away. A knock at my door made me start. Heart racing, I moved slowly, fingers trembling as I opened it. Ethan stood there, rainwater dripping from his coat, hair sticking to his forehead, eyes dark and intense. There was no preamble, no apology, just raw presence, like a storm that refused to be ignored. I know, he said, voice low but controlled. Everything, I swallowed, heart hammering. You do? He stepped inside, letting the door close softly behind him. Don't lie to me, he said. I saw the messages, the tension, the way he looked at you last night. I know he knows, and I know how much this hurts. I wanted to speak, to explain, but the words lodged in my throat like stones. I could feel his gaze cutting through me, reading the fragments of truth I couldn't voice. Tell me, he said finally. Tell me what's real. Between us, between him and you. Don't sugarcoat. I need to know. I sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. Ethan, I don't know anymore. I love him. I love you. But in different ways, and somehow, it's not enough. Not for either of you. I feel like I'm drowning, and you're both pulling me in opposite directions. He sat beside me, close but not touching, letting the space between us carry the weight of his restraint. You're not drowning, he said softly. You're just afraid. Afraid of making a choice that will hurt one of us. But hiding won't save anyone. I lifted my head, tears streaking my cheeks. I don't want to hurt either of you, I whispered. I never wanted this. I know, he said, voice steady. But love isn't always safe. Sometimes it's messy, uncomfortable, and terrifying. You can't control who you feel for and pretending you can. That's what leads to regret. The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating. The storm outside mirrored the one inside me. Relentless, unyielding, impossible to ignore. I need to see him, I said suddenly, the words slipping out before I could second-guess them. I need to see Ryan. I need to understand what I feel. Ethan's jaw tightened. Do you? He asked quietly. Or do you just want clarity because you're scared of what's inside you? I don't know, I admitted. But I can't sit here anymore, hiding from everything. I can't breathe this half-life. He stood, running a hand through his hair. Then go, he said, surprising me. Go see him, face him. And whatever you feel, face it too. The drive to Ryan's apartment felt endless. Rain blurred the streetlights into streaks of gold and silver. My heart pounded with every red light, every turn, every thought. I rehearsed what I would say, what I wouldn't. I wondered if he would forgive me, if he would understand, or if I had already broken him beyond repair. When I reached his door, I hesitated. My hand hovered over the knob. Every instinct told me to run, to hide, to flee back to the safety of avoidance. But I couldn't. Not this time. I knocked softly. No answer. I tried again, a little louder. Still nothing. Finally, the door opened, and Ryan stood there. He looked worse than I remembered. Dark circles under his eyes, a tightness in his jaw, and a storm of emotion in his gaze that made my chest ache. You came, he said simply. I had to, I whispered. I need to talk. To explain. He stepped aside, letting me in without a word. The apartment was quiet, almost too quiet, as if holding its breath for what was about to happen. I sat on the couch, fingers twisting in my lap. Ryan remained standing, hands in pockets, gaze fixed somewhere beyond me, lost and calculating. I know, he said finally. I know about Ethan. I tried to stop it, I said. I really did. I didn't want to feel this way, and I hate myself for what it's done to you, to us. He moved closer, sitting across from me. It's not just what you feel. It's what you hide. The silence, the hesitation. That's what hurts most. Tears welled in my eyes again. I'm so sorry, I whispered. I never wanted this triangle. I never wanted either of you to hurt. But it happened, and now, I don't know how to fix it. Ryan reached out, placing a hand over mine. The warmth of his skin was familiar, grounding, but it also carried a weight of unspoken questions. You can't fix it, he said softly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You can only face it. Face what you want, what you need, and the consequences of both. I nodded, feeling the enormity of his words settle in my chest. The reality of my choices, the inevitability of pain, and the fragile possibility of healing all collided inside me. Outside, the storm raged, relentless and unyielding. Inside, we sat together in silence, two hearts caught in the eye of a hurricane, broken, vulnerable, and unwilling to let go, even if we didn't yet know what holding on meant. The next morning dawned gray and heavy, the kind of morning that felt suspended in time. I hadn't slept. Every hour had been a replay of last night. Ryan's pain, Ethan's intensity, my own heart caught in the middle. I felt like a pendulum, swinging violently between two truths I couldn't reconcile. My phone buzzed again. Ethan. I can't do this waiting. I need to see you. Please. I stared at the screen, heart hammering. I knew he was right. Waiting was killing me, too. But I also knew that Ryan had already confronted me, had bared his soul, and I couldn't ignore that. I needed to face both of them together, to lay everything bare, to stop hiding from the storm inside me. I called Ethan. "Meet me at the park," I said, voice trembling. "I need all of us to be in the same place." The park was empty, save for the occasional jogger and the rustling of leaves under the wind. Ryan arrived first, his expression taut, unreadable, yet filled with a vulnerability I had never seen before. Ethan came a few minutes later, raincoat dripping, eyes scanning for me with the intensity of a man on fire. I stood between them, heart pounding so loudly I thought they would hear it. "I can't do this in separate rooms anymore," I said, voice shaking. "I need honesty. I need to stop hiding." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then say it. Say what you feel, what you want, without excuses." Ethan's eyes were softer, but no less intense. "We're listening," he said quietly. "But don't protect me from your truth." I took a deep breath, tears brimming. "I love you, Ryan. I love the stability, the warmth, the way you make me feel safe even when the world is chaotic. But, Ethan, I also love you. The way you make my heart race, the way being near you reminds me that I'm alive, that I'm more than what I let myself be with Ryan." Both men went silent, the words hanging in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. Ryan's voice was low, trembling. You love us both?" "Yes," I whispered. "I can't lie to myself anymore. I've tried to suppress it, tried to choose, but I can't. Not yet." Ethan stepped closer. "Then what do you want to do? Because living between two worlds isn't fair to any of us. We deserve clarity, even if it hurts." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. "I don't know," I admitted. "I need time. But I also need you both to hear me. I'm not leaving either of you, yet. I need to understand what this means, what I mean, and if we can exist in this without breaking apart." Ryan's hands clenched into fists, but he nodded. "Fine," he said quietly. "Time, but don't waste it. Don't pretend there's no fire here, because I feel it, and I won't ignore it forever." Ethan's expression softened. "We'll face it together. But know this. If you choose him over me, I won't fight for you. If you choose me, I won't step back. Whatever you decide, it will be final." I nodded again, tears spilling down my cheeks. "I understand. The days that followed were agonizing. Every interaction, every glance, every touch carried the weight of unspoken desire and unhealed wounds. I spent hours reflecting, walking in the city streets, feeling the world move around me while my heart remained trapped in a vortex of emotion. Ryan was patient, giving me space but never disappearing from my life. Ethan was relentless, showing up unexpectedly, his presence electric, impossible to ignore. Both loved me in ways that were different but equally consuming, and I realized that the problem wasn't choosing one over the other. It was understanding myself enough to know what I truly wanted. One evening, I sat on my apartment balcony, rain falling softly, city lights shimmering like distant stars. I called them both. "Meet me at the cafe," I said. "Tonight, we need to end this limbo." The cafe was quiet, almost empty, with the soft hum of jazz filling the background. I arrived first, nerves coiling in my stomach like snakes. Ryan walked in moments later, followed by Ethan. Both of them looked at me, waiting, hearts exposed, and I realized the magnitude of what was about to happen. I stood between them, breathing deeply. "I've thought about this nonstop," I said. "About you, about us, about what I feel. And I finally understand that this isn't about choosing who I love more. It's about understanding who I am, and how I can be honest without hurting the ones I care about." Ryan's eyes narrowed slightly, tension evident. Ethan's gaze softened, almost pleading. "I can't have one without the other," I whispered. "Not yet, because I'm not ready to let go of either of you. I know it's unfair. I know it's complicated, but this is my truth. I need to explore it, feel it, and learn what it means. And I need you both to trust me, even if it hurts." Silence fell. The only sound was the soft jazz and the rain outside. I saw pain, confusion, and a flicker of understanding in both their eyes. Finally, Ryan spoke, This isn't easy. It's not what I imagined. But I hear you. And if this is your truth, then I'll wait. I'll try to understand. Ethan nodded slowly. I won't fight you, but I won't step back either. If this is the path you need, I'll walk it with you. But don't let this drag us into something destructive. I nodded, relief and fear mingling in my chest. I won't, I promise. But we'll need honesty, patience, and boundaries. Otherwise, we'll destroy everything. And in that moment, I realized that love wasn't always simple, clean, or easy. Sometimes it was messy, painful, and terrifying. But it was also real, raw, and undeniable. I looked at both of them. Ryan with his steadfast warmth, Ethan with his electric intensity, and felt my heart expand in ways I hadn't known were possible. The storm wasn't over. It wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in weeks, I felt alive. And for now, that was enough. The days that followed felt surreal. Seeing both Ethan and Ryan in my life wasn't easy, but it was alive. Breakfasts with Ryan were quiet, intimate, filled with small jokes and warm smiles. Evenings with Ethan carried a different energy. Laughter that made my chest ache. Touches that lingered just long enough to remind me how much I wanted him. Yet beneath the surface, tension simmered. Every glance between them, every slight shift in conversation, reminded me how fragile this balance was. I knew it couldn't last forever. Something had to give. One rainy afternoon, I sat alone on the balcony, staring at the city's blurred lights. My heart ached with anticipation, with fear. I loved them both, in ways that were completely different, and I knew a choice was inevitable. But for now, I allowed myself to just breathe, to exist in the quiet chaos of what was, without rushing to what would come. Sometimes I realized, living in the moment was the only way to prepare for the storm. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and something faintly sweet, a scent that now felt like a beginning rather than a memory. I had asked both Ryan and Ethan to meet me there, one final time. My hands trembled slightly as I stirred my tea, knowing that tonight, everything would change. Ryan arrived first, his usual calm exterior masking the tension I could feel radiating from him. Ethan followed minutes later, eyes scanning the room until they settled on me. The air was heavy, thick with unspoken emotions, regrets, and desires. I took a deep breath. I've spent these past weeks thinking about all of this, I said, voice steady but soft. About both of you, about what I want and what I need. And I finally understand one thing. I need to be honest. Fully and without compromise. Ryan's jaw tightened, and Ethan leaned forward as if trying to read my very thoughts. I love you both, I admitted, but I can't live in the middle anymore. I can't keep balancing what I feel for one against the other. It isn't fair, to you, to me, to us. Tears pricked my eyes. I've realized that what I feel for Ryan, it's steady, enduring, comforting. It's a love that survives everything, that grounds me. But what I feel for Ethan, it's fire. It's passion, excitement, a part of me I can't ignore. I've tried to deny it, to suppress it, but it's there, alive, and it demands acknowledgement. Both men were silent, their faces unreadable. My heart ached with the weight of the decision, knowing it could hurt them both, even as I sought to be true to myself. Finally, Ryan spoke, voice quiet but steady. Then, you've made your choice, I nodded, swallowing hard. Yes, I've chosen the path that feels right for me, the love I can build my life around. And it's not easy. It's never easy with hearts involved, but I know who I need to be with. Ethan's expression faltered, a mix of pain and resignation flashing across his face. He nodded slowly, stepping back. I understand, he said, his voice soft. I can't fight this. Not when it's already decided. I just hope you find what you're looking for. Ryan reached across the table, taking my hand. His touch was warm, familiar, grounding. We'll face this together, he said gently. The fire you felt for him, it was real. But our love, it will grow stronger. I promise you that. I felt relief, heartbreak, and peace all at once. It wasn't about forgetting Ethan or pretending he didn't matter. He would always be a part of me. A spark that reminded me of who I was before I knew stability and calm. But with Ryan, I found my home. That night, as the city lights reflected off the wet streets, I held Ryan close. We didn't speak of Ethan, or of the fire that once burned so brightly. We only existed in the quiet warmth of each other, knowing that love was messy, complicated, but ultimately worth the courage it demanded. Some stories don't end with perfect clarity. Some leave traces of passion, regret, and memory. But tonight, in Ryan's arms, I knew one truth. Love isn't always simple, but it is always real, and that was enough. The days after that night felt strangely quiet. The storm had passed, yet its echo lingered in every corner of my life. Ethan didn't disappear completely. He still sent messages, small check-ins that were polite, almost gentle, as if giving both of us space to heal. I didn't reply immediately. I needed to understand my own heart before responding to him, before acknowledging the bittersweet place he held in my story. Ryan, on the other hand, became a constant presence, not in an overbearing way, but in a steady, grounding way. His hands found mine without asking permission. His voice reached me across the room even in silence, and his laughter reminded me why I had chosen him. The fire of desire for Ethan had dimmed, replaced by a warmth that settled deep in my chest, a certainty that felt like home. Yet even in this calm, memories of Ethan flickered, sharp, unexpected, like lightning across a dark sky. I caught myself smiling at the thought of his teasing grin, feeling a pang of longing that wasn't shameful, just human. I realized that love is never neat. It doesn't erase the past or the people who once meant everything. It folds them into the story, letting them exist without breaking the present. One afternoon, Ryan and I walked through the park where we had first confronted the triangle that had consumed us. The leaves crunched beneath our feet, a crisp sound that felt almost sacred. He reached for my hand, and I didn't hesitate. I never thought this would end with us, I admitted softly, my head resting against his shoulder. Not because I didn't want it, but because it felt impossible. Messy. Overwhelming. He kissed the top of my head. Love rarely comes easy. But sometimes, the hardest path is the one that's worth taking. You chose honestly. That makes it real. I nodded, feeling tears prick my eyes. I don't regret anything, I whispered. Not him, not us, not even the chaos. Every part of it brought me here. To you, to this moment, to knowing who I am and what I need. Ryan tightened his grip around my hand. And I'll be here every step, through storms, through doubts, through everything, because I love you. Not because it's easy, but because it's us. I smiled, heart full, a weight lifted from my shoulders. It wasn't perfect. It never would be. Love rarely is. But it was ours. Raw, complicated, real, and that was enough. Weeks turned into months, and life slowly settled into a rhythm that felt both new and familiar. Ryan and I found comfort in ordinary things. Late-night walks, shared coffees, quiet dinners. There were no grand declarations anymore, no fiery confrontations. Love had matured, deepened, and taken root in places that words alone could never describe. And yet, in the quiet moments, memories of Ethan lingered like a shadow on a sunlit wall. I would catch myself thinking of him unexpectedly. The way he laughed, the intensity in his gaze, the reckless charm that had once drawn me in. But these thoughts no longer carried the ache of confusion or longing. Instead, they were gentle reminders of how far I had come, of the choices I had made, and of the woman I had become in the process. One evening, the city glowing in a cascade of amber streetlights, Ryan and I sat on the balcony of our apartment, overlooking the river. The water reflected our lights, shimmering like 1,000 scattered memories. I leaned my head against his shoulder, inhaling the familiar scent of him, a mixture of warmth, cologne, and home. I never imagined love could be this, I murmured. Calm, steady, yet still alive. I thought passion was the only way to feel it. He kissed my temple softly. Passion is temporary. It burns bright and then fades. But love like this, it endures. It grows, even in silence, even when the world tests it. I closed my eyes, letting his words sink in. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel torn. I didn't feel guilty. I only felt complete. Months later, I received a letter. No message, no text, just a carefully folded piece of paper in my mailbox. The handwriting was unmistakable. Ethan's. My heart skipped, but it wasn't the same frantic beat it had been before. I opened it slowly, savoring each word like a bittersweet melody. I hope you're happy. I hope he treats you the way you deserve. I'll always remember what we had, what we shared, even if only for a fleeting moment. Thank you for being real with me, even when it hurt. Take care always. I read the letter twice, then set it aside. A soft smile curved my lips. There was no anger, no regret, only gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons, for the love, and for the clarity that had brought me here. Ethan would always be a chapter in my story, but he wasn't the ending. I had found my ending, and my beginning, with Ryan. Life with Ryan wasn't perfect. There were arguments, small disagreements, moments of doubt. But through it all there was trust, patience, and the kind of connection that no one could replace. One rainy afternoon, as we walked hand in hand, our jackets soaked and hair plastered to our faces, he stopped and looked at me. I love you, he said simply. No theatrics, no grand promises, just pure truth. And I love you, I replied, feeling it in every heartbeat, in every breath, in every quiet glance we shared. That night, as the city lights flickered against the rain-soaked streets, I thought back to the whirlwind of emotions, the fire of desire, the pull of something unattainable. I realized that love was never about choosing between people. It was about choosing yourself, and choosing the path where your heart could grow without fear. We moved forward together, each day a new page in our story. Some days were ordinary, some extraordinary, but all were ours. And in the stillness of our apartment, in the quiet warmth of our shared life, I finally understood. Love isn't about drama or passion. It's about presence, honesty, and the courage to stay, even when the world tempts you to leave. And as I drifted off to sleep that night, Ryan's hand clasped around mine. I knew that every twist, every heartbreak, every fleeting moment with Ethan had led me here. To this. To a love that was real, enduring, and finally, fully mine. The fire may have burned bright and fleeting, but the warmth of this love would last a lifetime.